Hi, my name is Brenda Titus. I'm a professional hypnotist in Orange County, California. For information about myself and my program, including in-person sessions, please go to my website, ochypnotherapy.com. And today's Thoughts from the Hypnosis Office, we are going to talk about embracing the spiral path of life. Now, we would like to kind of think about sometimes life, whether we're talking about, healing, progress, improvement, growth, even working towards a goal, as being, point A to point Z. So even thinking about a line like this. Well, sometimes we might think about making it in a circle. Have you ever heard where somebody says, oh, I've come full circle on a particular issue? Well, then that still implies that at some point we're going around in circles. So today I wanted to think about the idea of the spiral. Now, when I think about a spiral, I actually like to think about it in a circular motion, right? So very similar to being that full circle, but then also usually I like to think about it as an upward spiral. So instead of going linear like this, we're going upward, right? So there's still some, when you can kind of imagine or think about it, you're thinking about progress, upward mobility, movement, and all of that. So as we are working through our goals, we can kind of think about it that way in a spiral, and especially where we can think about it as going upward. Now, I like to remind myself about that all of the time, and other people. We do live in cycles throughout our lives, and so there really can feel like this full circle moment. But I do like to think about that when we hit maybe a shift in our progress, or we level up in our progress, that even though it might feel like we've come, kind of full circle, come back to the beginning, but we are also then, moving forward on something. And I like to think about that, especially with my clients, because sometimes they will come to me and they will say, well, I've worked on, whether it's a weight issue or a emotional issue, a relationship issue, something from their childhood, and they might say, well, I've worked through that before. But the other part is that they work through that before, in the past, where they had a different set of knowledge, they had a different set of things going on in their lives that might impact whatever it is, but we have to address where they are on a particular issue in the here and now. And maybe we know something differently now that we didn't know before, or maybe we have other issues going on in our lives that are going to impact said issue. So, oftentimes for me, when people come to me and they say, well, I need to work on a weight issue, or I need to work on a relationship issue, and then I'll say, well, okay, what's been going on lately that is inspiring you to do this work? But then they'll usually say, well, this is what's been going on lately, but actually I've dealt with this issue quite a bit over my years, throughout my life. And so then I can kind of see, okay, well, that's a particular part of their pattern. And we can then start really digging into what are the different times in life that maybe that issue has come up, and then we can address the themes, which then actually helps prepare us for future times in life, especially just based on, kind of life patterns and what can be expected or what could come or may come, that then we can help prepare them so that the next time maybe a particular issue gets addressed or comes up to the surface, that they'll have different skills and tools and abilities to be able to navigate that challenge when it comes up in the future. Because that is kind of, we are cyclical kinds of people. We live in, cycles of the year. We live in, cycles within our careers or our relationships, or we're butting up against other people's cycles. And so, like I said, I just thought that was kind of an interesting way of thinking about how, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going backwards on some sort of issue or challenge, or gosh, I keep having to work on such and such issue or challenge, we can kind of look at it as, no, it's not that you're going all the way back to the beginning. It's just that we've hit a new part of the cycle that we need to address. Now, of course, I want to especially be aware of that, because every once in a while we might realize that we are going in a downward spiral. Sometimes that downward spiral can be very fast. Something happens that knocks us off our feet, and we need to get our bearings straight again. But again, remembering we aren't going all the way back down to the beginning. We are, maybe it's only a couple of levels on that spiral. Then we got, because there's always what boosts us up from the past, that how we've learned and how we've grown. So it's not going all the way back down to the beginning. It's, maybe just a couple of levels, but then we can easily get back up to where we started and then be able to continue to make progress. So I hope that that was kind of a fun way of thinking about progress, moving forward with your goals, moving forward with a healing journey, a life journey. We are all on a journey of life, and technically, when we think about going in that linear way, if we go from point A to point Z, point Z. Well, I always like to think about what's on the other side of what point Z is. Maybe it's the next goal or the next project. So that's why I like to think about that upward spiral instead. So I hope that you found this to be a fun, interesting topic, and I hope that you are doing well on your path and journey through life, always going on the upward end of the spiral. And if you struggle in getting into that downward end of the spiral, I encourage hypnosis, hypnotherapy as an option for you, and definitely looking into a hypnosis professional in your area. And with that, I wish you a wonderful week.